It is good to be here at the PCCC. I want to thank my good friend Stephanie and Adam and everybody at PCCC. Let's hear it for PCCC, everybody. And I just want to say that I just thought the presentation we just heard was extraordinary. It was awesome. Talking about racial justice, marijuana legalization, talking about all these critical issues, Medicare for all. And it makes me think about the fact that here we are in 2018, celebrating 50 years, not really celebrating, but also lamenting 50 years since the loss of Martin Luther King, but also 50 years since the passage of the Fair Housing Act. And we have made progress on racial justice. Nobody can say that having whites only signs is a good thing. We got rid of those things, and it was progressive activists then who fought against those things and defeated them then. But do you know that in 1968, if the minimum wage was then what it was now, what it was then, according to inflation, it would be $11.68. The federal minimum wage is $7.25. And if you are a server in a restaurant, it's $2.13. In 1968, did you know that the average CEO of a big company made about 20 times the average worker? Now, if it's less than 300, we count ourselves lucky. In 1968, we had a federal poverty guideline. We have one today. There's 60% more people who are under it today than there were then. And Martin Luther King felt a moral compulsion to call for a people's movement, a poor people's movement then. If we needed a poor people's movement in 68, what on earth do we need now? We need a poor people's revolution. This is what we gotta have. So I wanna thank PCCC for inviting you here. I want to thank our revolution for being a lead player in this moment. I want to thank all of the progressive organizations, and I want to thank you. Yes, you. If you're running for office, put your hand up. I want to see. This is beautiful. Beautiful. You can put them down now. I'm telling you, as I look out amongst you, I see women, I see men, I see a mom. I see a hijabi. In a moment when they tell us we're not supposed to like the Muslims or the Mexicans or the gays or the this or the that or the those or the them. Our folks are running. You know, let me tell you, Danica Rome in Virginia, if she was not the candidate from Central Casting, but Danica Rome, they thought she was going to only just talk about trans stuff. No, she talked about roads, bridges, and life livability issues. And she took out somebody who said they were the #1 homophobe in the Virginia state legislature. I guess he's the former #1. My point is simple. Don't you let anybody tell you you are the wrong color, the wrong religion, the wrong sexual orientation, the wrong whatever to run for office. They always tell us you got to be a self-funder. You got to be prior military. You should be preferably male or white, even more preferably. You got to be Christian, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant. And look, if you are all those things, then they say, well, you don't want to be a union guy. If you are all those things, you don't want to be progressive on the issues. They tell you you got to be centrist, middle of the road. You got to go over well at Rotary. And I'm not dissing Rotary. Don't think, oh, Keith doesn't like Rotary. No, Rotary's fine. My point is simply that they want you to have this centrist. But here's the deal, folks. Why do I start out talking about 1968? Because what some people, usually the greedy types, right? What some people call is like kind of left, kind of out there, kind of over there. Man, it's just reasonable. It's responsive to what our people have to have in order to live. It is. In my town of Minneapolis, when you look at the fact that a young black man is 21 times more likely to be arrested for marijuana than a young white man, if you say, look, we need legalization here, you're not saying nothing radical. You're saying something responsive to the needs of the community. If you say minimum wage ought to be $15 an hour indexed to inflation and to the CEO's pay, you're not saying nothing radical. You're just saying that income inequality, wealth inequality is wrong in this richest nation in the world. You're saying what is normal. So one thing you got to do, you're coming here to DC, you're gassing up your tank. That's a good idea. But when you go back out there across the United States and you go to those small towns and those cities and you run in the communities you're running in, don't you back down. You take the energy you got from here and you carry it straight out there and you tell them the truth about what the people need. You tell them the truth about what the people need. Now, I ran for chair of the Democratic National Committee, and I ended up being deputy chair of the Democratic National Committee. Well, let me tell you this about that. I want to tell you this about that. You, in this life, you gotta be all in for the team. And it might not come out your way, but the passion and the issues and the people I was fighting for, they're still there. What am I do? Say, I didn't win, I'm out of here. No. Miss McGillicuddy, Miss Johnson, and their kids need me to fight harder than before. They need me to put it more in. They need to put my back into it more than before because their lives depend upon it. Did you know that in Missouri and in Texas and maybe other places, maternal mortality has risen? Women are dying because we are losing elections. We don't have the right to lose a damn election. We have to win. We have to win. I believe a guy named Paul Wellstone, he was a U.S. Senator from Minnesota. Paul Wellstone taught me a valuable lesson. He said, look, man, I'm not running no vanity campaign. I'm not running to make a point. I'm running to take all of our progressive values and make them the policy, the law of the land. That is what we are doing. And he believed, and he told me that most people agree with us. But the powers that be would rather have folks just stay at home and sit it out. They want you to believe that government doesn't work. They want you to believe that government cannot work. They want you to believe that because if you sit it out, then they come in and they do what they want to do, like pass this crazy tax bill, which is nothing but a tax scam, giving millions and billions funneling up to the richest people in the country. And they don't just buy consumer goods with that money. Man, they already got plenty of houses and planes and boats. It ain't about consumer goods. It is about three things. It is about mergers and acquisitions, so they buy each other up. And when they buy each other up, they don't need two HR departments. Somebody going laid off. You understand what I mean? When they concentrate markets, you might think, you know, I've always wanted to start a business, you know, I'm really good at making spaghetti. I was thinking about opening up a little place. Or you might think, you know, I'm a pharmacist, I'm gonna open up my place. Well, not with CVS and Walgreens, the only two games in town. You ain't opening up hardly nothing. They will run you out of business. And so my point, what is the other thing they do with the money? They buy political influence. They try to corrupt people like me. Oh yeah, Congressman, have we done an event for you this year? I just wondered, you know. Oh, that's a bribe. You know? Hell no, you ain't done an event for me. And so there is an antidote, folks. You might think, oh my God, everything's so bad. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Here's the good news. that if we will knock every door and we will call everybody and we will have community meetings, not just at the election time, but way before the election time, and build relationships, and listen to this, use politics to build community. Think about that. Use politics to build community, then we can increase turnout. We can take over the state legislature, the city council, the school board, and Congress. And we can have universal single-payer Medicare for all. And we can have free college. And we can have a society that is truly democratic and reflects the priorities of the American people. We can have common sense laws to get these weapons of war off our streets. We can do these things, but we've got to be able to increase participation to do it. And you got to understand, of course the right wing says, oh, they're trying to suppress our votes. But you got to also be on the alert for cynicism, because there are well-meaning people who care about the things we care about who have just abandoned the American political process to the point where it's like, I'm out. Now, if they say that, they're not trying to help Trump, but their non-participation ends up advantaging him anyway. Your job is to go to that person, sit with them, hear them out. Don't condemn them, don't dismiss them. They're probably raising legitimate points of view. But to say, look, I'm running this time. Me, you know me. I was here with the diaper bank when we needed it. I was here protesting with you for 15 now. I was here with you when we were fighting for justice. We're going to try to do this political thing, and I need you to come with me. Will you do it? Now, I can't convince them to do that, but you can. Because you've been in Peoria, you've been in Boca Chica, Mississippi, you've been in Tallahassee, Florida, you've been on the ground with folks. They know you, they trust you, and they will come out if you go get them out. I'm telling you, it is particularly bad in the midterm elections. Now, I know my dear buddy over there, Nina Turner, she say, Keith, stop saying midterm. Every term's a, Nina, don't you tell me that? She does. She's like, every term is the most important term. Always get the people out. She's right. She's right. But these elections that happen between the presidentials, our terms fall off, our voter turnout falls off really bad. Really bad. The Democratic Party over the last many years has campaigned with basically 2 or 3 things. One, television ads. Television ads actually decrease turnout. Mail that most people, particularly millennials, don't read, they throw it in the garbage. Now we're using some Facebook ads, but well, you know the story on that. Let me tell you what actually works. A body at the door. A body at the door. Now look, I want to be able to take a few questions from you guys, so I'm just going to tell you this very quick story. 50 years ago, the great Martin Luther King, he was not popular at the time, and a lot of people were hating on him real bad. They said, man, you're a civil rights guy. What you doing talking about the Vietnam War? He said, well, war's the enemy of the poor. How can we pay for any of the stuff? How can we pay for fair housing? How can we pay for good schools? How can we pay to rebuild our neighborhoods if it's all going to fight the Vietnamese who are not fighting us? How can we do this? And so they criticize him, they condemn him. But I want you to know that though we lost him on April 4th, which is just a few days ago, he was crystal clear on so many things. He said the time's always right to do what is right. The time is right for health care for all, single payer for all. The time is right to get rid of these bad marijuana laws. The time is right to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. And the time is also right for us to not just talk about minimum wage. We got to talk about maximum wage nowadays, folks. Why should somebody getting exorbitant money Way more than they deserve, like way more. The guy who used to run United Health Group, if he didn't make $100 million a year, he had a bad year. He deserved that. The guy who CEO of McDonald's makes at least $3,500 an hour, and they don't want to pay somebody else 15, 16 bucks an hour. Martin Luther King back 50 years ago was clear on what we needed. We needed economic justice and racial justice both together now. He didn't talk as much about gender justice as he should have, but we can in this moment. Now, the important thing to keep in mind is we lost Martin Luther King. Every school kid knows that. But those strikers, they didn't quit. They kept striking. They kept marching. They kept being out there every day. And they made the racist, unfair city of Memphis pay them. They won the strike, y'all. They won recognition. And you think about that, you think about what those teachers just did in West Virginia, what they're doing in Oklahoma. Then you begin to understand that the moment we're in, it ain't as bad as what they was in. They didn't have whites only signs up on the doors in the restaurants back. They don't have them up there today. But they fought anyway, and we must fight anyway today and in this moment. And if we will join together, I don't know what's going to happen to the one of us or the two of us, but we're going to win this thing. So get out there, knock the doors, and let's go take care of business.